to the number one small business operations podcast in the entire world. This is Lazy Leverage with Jon Matzner, and I'm Peter Lohmann. How are you today, John?
I'm well. How are you, Mr. Lohmann?
Dude, we get some really nice feedback about this show, by the way. I've seen, like, I peek around on Twitter and stuff, and people are
Yeah.
like, I love the show. Like, I hear people say really nice things
So
when
you're back on Twitter?
I jump in there like once a week to select a tweet for my newsletter.
What what I would say is it's reaching the exact people that I like. Like there's somebody who we know, I won't say who it is, who I talked to an hour yesterday, who's doing our vertical communities thing with a private equity company.
Oh, wow.
Like we'll
That's
talk about that
crazy.
separately. You know who this guy is, and he's smart as shit, and he's awesome, and he's cool. And I'm like, oh yeah. So, and he loves lazy leverage. So I like it. It attracts my people. It's not going to be like make your first $10,000 with passive income, which is going to get a million downloads. But the 11 people who I
Yeah.
actually care about are going to listen. So yeah, man.
Hermosi says the future of social is live, by the way. So we're ahead of the curve here with a
I
live
mean, and if
show.
he says it, it's got to be true, right?
I think so. I already got my Hermosi reference in too, right at the top of the show. All right, so we're gonna be talking about not the traveling secretary problem. What am I mixing up there? The secretary problem, as it's colloquially known, which is basically how do you
Well, let's start
solve?
with why it matters. Start with
Okay,
why it matters.
why does what matter?
Why should somebody pay attention to what the secretary problem is and the solution to the secretary problem? Why should people care about what we're
Yeah,
about
so
to discuss?
basically, if you're trying to hire somebody, how do you know when you should quote settle for a hire? Like, in other words, how do you know when you've seen enough candidates that you have a benchmark of quality that you can use to make an intelligent hiring decision?
What other forms other than hiring does the secretary problem apply to? I'm doing shit I do with
Selecting
my
a
team. I'm
wife,
asking you a rhetorical question. What house hunting?
house hunting,
Which house should we move into or apartment
yeah,
to move into? Um, you get
finding a deal on a car,
finding a deal on a car, getting quotes for home improvement,
yep.
repair work, and I've never bought a roof before. How do I know I'm not getting screwed?
You know, it actually probably works on the other side of the hiring table as well. It probably works for employees, right? They should do so many interviews and get so many offers and then make a decision on which offer to take, right? Wouldn't that work the other way just the same?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's how to make a data backed decision with incomplete information in a systematic way.
exactly. Data backed decision with incomplete information, which is small business operations, right? I mean, your life as a business leader is making decisions with incomplete information. Anytime you can pull data into that is going to help you.
Or method, essentially, right? Like really it's method, right? And we're going to put some big glaring caveats at the end of this, both of which have an impact on the core flow. But do you want to lay out what it is and the book answer, and we'll discuss that and then talk about kind of like these complicating factors, or do you like how do you want to do that?
Well, yeah. So the book answer, and you can look this up on Wikipedia, the secretary problem. The book answer says you should interview 37% of the pool and then hire the next person you interview who is better than everyone who came before.
Better than the top person from the first third,
Exactly.
right?
Yep. And so if you, in this like made up perfect scenario, if you knew there was 100 candidates, you should go through the full interview process, but do not hire the first 37. And you're kind of making an assumption that after you hire them and a couple days has passed, they're no longer available. Once you've done that, continue interviewing, but now hold in your mind who is the best person of that first 37, and now hire the next person who comes along who's better than any of those, assuming none of those were available, I guess.
So I want to give a couple examples here. And I was like, oh man, I'm glad I just like searched this real quick. Okay. This is
Hmm.
also called the ideal stopping problem
Okay.
or solution, right? The ideal stopping. Here are some examples. We talked about employees already. We talked about house and apartment coming. I'm gonna give a couple others. The marriage problem.
Yeah, I
If
said
you have an
picking a wife.
estimated window of time from 18 to 40 during which you should plan to date, the theory suggests use the first 37% of that time until roughly the age of 26 to establish your preferences. And then the next person who is better than all the previous partners is the one.
So the time domain really makes this much more realistic. And
Give you a couple other ones that are great.
yeah,
Selling a house or a car. When you receive a series of offers, you face the decision of whether to accept the current bid or wait for a higher one. Optimal stopping helps determine the best time to stop waiting and accept an offer.
so why
Parking
is it
spot selection.
37%, do you think? Is something about the standard deviation or
It's
whatever?
math. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
some mathy math thing, right?
Some normal distribution thing. Yeah.
Parking spot selection. When driving down a street towards a destination, you must decide whether to take a available spot further away or risk going further in hopes of finding a closer one.
You pull that
La-
out when your wife's in heels. You're like, "Well, technically we haven't passed
Technically speaking,
37% of the just pull up and let me out."
last one. I like this one too because this applies not just to software but other things. Product or software releases. Companies decide when to stop debugging a new software product and release it to the public using similar principles to balance the cost of delays against the risk of bugs.
Interesting.
So I just want to broaden this beyond just, beyond just, oh, it's interviewing candidates at Sagan or some shit like
Yeah.
that, right? This is a widely applicable economic theory. So put in one sentence, it's don't do anything for the first 37%, and then find the best one. And then the next person you talk to who is as good or better than that one is who you should hire right away. And that is a mathematically optimized decision
Yeah,
chain.
and I think it's important that you distinguish between what is the limiting factor here. Is it time or is it a quantity? Like if you know there's only 25 houses on the market, then
Yes.
you should go tour 37% of those and then make your decision.
Yes.
Or on the other hand, if you're like, well, I have 10 years to pick a mate, well, then you should take the first 3.7 years, like there, because there's an unknown quantity,
Yeah,
right?
time bound or quantity bound.
Right.
So you're getting roofing quotes. There's 6 companies that
Yep.
service your geography for roofing. You get bids from the first 2. You do not accept either of them. And then the next roofer after that, that is better than the best of the first 2, you buy from.
Yeah. Because the reason this exists is because there's limited resources, right? You can't just interview 16 roofing companies. No one has time for that.
Yeah. And this is a mathematically kind of rigorous way to do it without, you know,
It
wasting much time.
maximizes your statistical probability of getting a good outcome. It's not a
Yeah, best
guarantee though,
fit.
because there could be a weird anomaly where for some reason you interviewed the best 3 your first time out, and then no one better ever comes along or whatever.
Yep. Or conversely, there could be 2 rock stars and then crap, or there could be 2 terrible people. And then the first person was solid and you hired
Yeah.
him right away when there was actually even better people behind them. So
Yeah.
it is a representation of statistical distribution associated with optimal outcome, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to inject the 2? I think you already talked about one of the big kind of conflating factors. We're going to tie this into a particular situation with you and kind of wander around this topic a little bit. But the first conflating factor you already mentioned, which is when you have you have to know the total uh, N, which is total number of applicants anticipated, total number of roofing contractors, total number of parking spots available, or
Mhm.
distance to the destination. But if that's unknown, you have to accommodate, right? Which is
Yep.
what you said, which is something like time bound,
Yeah.
right? You don't know how many potential mates you have in the world. So you can't say what's
Yeah.
1/3 of that.
Our restaurant reservation is 10 minutes from now, right? So we need to spend 3.7 minutes driving around looking for a parking spot.
Oh, that's exactly how you do that. I didn't consider using the
Mhm.
time of when you have to be there.
Yep.
Right? And if you have 20 minutes to drive around, you spend 6.5 minutes driving around, and then you look at the best spot closest after that 6.5 minutes.
Yep.
Yes, dude, that's so brilliant. I never realized I didn't realize you could do it on time bound.
I didn't either till you read that little blurb on the
Yeah.
pre-show.
I was like, oh,
Now we
that's
look
a
like
really good way to
geniuses. Well, you didn't know that? God.
that's a really good, we should probably do something like that with Sega.
Yeah, you
We
should.
should probably tell our people, is this a time bound hire or not? Because if it's time bound, my suggestion is you interview a few candidates with 1/3 of the allotted time, and then the next. We should turn that into like a method or something. Call it like the Sagan selection method or something. And it's like
Mhm.
mathematically backed. It's
Oh
a really
yeah,
good idea
I'm
because
into
a lot
that.
of people, yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, you want to introduce the second conflating factor?
You talking about the Nicaraguan?
Well, it ties into that, which is the second one is if you have an expert. So at Sagan, we hire 10 bazillion executive assistants. So the secretary problem ultimately solves for when you can only determine things comparatively, not in an absolute sense.
Yeah, like you
So
enter into the decision with almost no information.
Effectively zero information.
Yeah.
Sagan is not, or your real estate agent is not, or your property manager
Yeah.
is not. You're saying this option is the best you're going to get, even though it's the first one.
I've
You
seen
should take it.
5,000 of these. Take my word for it,
Correct.
right?
And so
Yeah.
I think the other conflating factor is when you have a source of absolute data and you're not just comparing options with essentially tabula rasa in the beginning, right?
Yeah. And I think this is maybe a good side quest to go down and talk a little bit about hiring in the world of small business. I think the mistake that employers make most often is they actually settle too quickly for candidates. And maybe Sagan won't like to hear this, but um, my experience has been my benchmark for hiring is much higher than average,
Mm.
and that actually was really imparted to me by my business partner. He's got a very high bar for hiring, and I sort of was able
He
to
also has no
observe.
computer or electronics on his desktop, so you can't take what he said. Did
He
you write him
hasn't
a letter to figure that out?
yeah, he hasn't quite gotten there yet, but it's his dream to not have a
He just
computer on his
aspires
desk.
to.
Yeah. Um, but he always had really high standards when we would interview people, and after a while, I got to really appreciate that, and I saw the results of waiting an extra week or 2 and interviewing a few more candidates than I
Yeah,
probably would have, and finding that person who was, a click or 2 better than I would have just kinda quickly settled for. So, um, it's hard to have a barometer for that, especially when you're starting out, and if you've never worked with outstanding people before, you may not realize the level of talent that is actually available. And it's a very difficult thing to explain to somebody because if you haven't worked with somebody really
yeah.
good before, you don't even know what you're missing. I couldn't explain how good it is in some ways.
Just a small tangent on what you just said about knowing what good looks like. Uh, I found one of the things I do a lot that I've stolen from EOS from you is oftentimes when I feel like a meeting's a little bit off track, I have our teams grade it. And what I realized was our working level team were giving way too high of grades because they'd never seen what a good meeting was.
Yeah.
And so they'd be like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And I'd be like 3.
Hmm.
And then a month later, they'd regrade it. And I'd be like, do you guys all looking back agree it was a 3? And they're like, oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because they didn't realize part of what I did was help build their taste about like, she rambled, she read the slides, he wasn't prepared. Oh, 8, because we were all like
Yeah.
working really good. So,
The
yeah.
other side of the coin for hiring in small business is that not only do you have to get a taste for what good looks like, but you also have to be worthy of a great person to work for you. Like when you're new, you don't know enough to be worth an A player working for you. What do you have to offer? You have almost no experience, your company's small. And so there's like this little kind of parallel growth that happens where you grow as a leader, you grow as an entrepreneur, your business gets larger, the opportunity gets more interesting, and your quality bar at the same time is going up as well. And you don't want to get too far ahead on one or the other, or it's just not really going to work. But you don't want to lag too far
Yeah.
behind on either one. Is probably a better
Well,
way to
to
say
take it
that.
to a ridiculous extreme, a guy who runs a fully subcontracted remote cleaning company says, I'm looking for A players. And it's like, bro, you're not an A player. Like, why are they going to work for you?
Yeah.
What do you offer them?
Right.
Like, like you have to be worthy. A lot of people have said, like, oh, I want like a Bincy, right? Bincy, my longtime partner in crime. I'm like, you think Bincy would work for you? You
Hmm.
know how hard I invest in that relationship and our relationship and my relationship with Renee, my longtime business partner, my relationship with like you have to be worthy of that too. So we're on a little bit of a hiring kind of corner here, but I totally agree with you. A lot of times you need to say like, are you worthy of the level of talent that you're looking for?
What would you say to somebody who had that moment of self analysis,
Uh-huh.
insight, and came to the conclusion like, "Hey, you're right, John. I'm not worthy of a Benzie. I
Yeah.
realize I have so much to learn and so much to grow."
Yeah.
What would be your suggestion on how they could work on that? What should they do? What should they read?
If it was me and I had somebody who was like a kind of like awkward, kind of like didn't like developing people leader, I'd say you should start like a vertical community for property managers with a low headcount back office staff, because now you don't have all these people in person.
Nice.
You don't have to have these development
You don't
conversations.
need any skills.
It's just
You
3 or
don't need
4
any
of you and a
experience.
circle group and a
Yeah.
deal with Sagan, and you can make even more money than you do with being a real leader.
Yeah.
Like, again,
That's fair.
random example.
Random.
Totally random. No, my my advice. So I set that one up a little bit.
Mhm.
My advice would be leadership and management and becoming worthy of a good team is a muscle, and you just haven't worked out that muscle. And so I would go to school, I'd go to work, I'd read, I'd study, I'd get a coach, I'd get mentors, I'd ask my team, hey, where am I failing you as a leader? How can I better support you? Just think of it as a workout muscle, and you haven't been working out. So hit the gym. And so what's hit the gym look like? Leadership podcasts, management stuff, read Christian Ruff's stuff, read Jocko's stuff. All of that stuff is good, and start kind of internalizing, what being a good leader means, what having career development, how to attract the right people. That's how I'd think about it.
We did an interesting exercise at our company's annual offsite in the fall. We all went around with a piece of paper and we wrote everyone's name out, and we said, you had to answer 2 questions. If there's one thing I could get you to start doing, what would that be? And if there's one thing I could get you to stop doing, what would that be? And so everyone went around on a piece of paper and wrote their answers. So 2 answers for each person. So you end up writing like 16 things because there's like 8 people there. And then the papers would make their way all the way around the table. And then you were left with these 2 pieces of paper of things that your team wants you to start doing and things that your team wants you to stop doing. So that was a really interesting
How
way.
was it?
It was great. And actually,
Incredible.
the answers were consistent for me.
Yeah.
There was a consistent theme where people wanted me to start giving more feedback to
Mm.
them about their performance. It was like 60% of the answers were
Wow.
that, almost word for word. So I really have been, thinking about that
The
a
only
lot.
modification I'd put to that is, we do a version of that, not as well as you just did, is we do stop, start, continue.
Okay, yeah, start, stop, continue, yeah.
I like the
I think we've
continue
done
too.
that
It's like,
before
I
too.
love when you do this. It makes me feel so valued. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's not a stop or start. Okay. So you want to get back to kind of like the hiring process, knowing when to quit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you had a particular, it kind of dredges up what I would call a very hard topic, which is more or less comparative salaries versus absolute salaries and
Yeah,
geographic price differentials.
exactly.
And it's a fascinating concept. And there are some people who are, in my opinion, who are so extreme in one sense or the other. There are people who are like, regardless of where people are located, we pay them the same.
Mhm.
I don't care if they're in Bangladesh or San Francisco. If they're an engineer,
What?
they make
You're
the
kidding.
same amount.
Oh, that's
There are
bonkers.
people I've seen do that. And then the inverse is, oh, she runs my whole company. She's a VA from the Philippines. I only pay her $6 an hour.
Yeah, we don't pay more than the median wage in that country or whatever.
Correct. Oh,
Like,
$800 a month is fine. Why would we ever pay more than that?
Right, yeah.
So it is not a solved problem by any extent. So let's talk about your particular scenario in as
So
much
yeah,
detail as you
my
want.
specific problem, this is present day for me. We are hiring for essentially like a business operations person at Crane. So we need kind of a back office project manager type person to come join the team at Crane, which is a very small team. So it's a very important hire because the team is still small. And so I, of course, put through a hiring request with Sagan. I'm getting candidates coming through. And we had a candidate I really liked from Nicaragua, and interviewed the candidate, liked the candidate, and sent an offer. And the candidate would not negotiate the offer. They were like, here's the rate I want. I will not budge off of that. And I felt like the rate that they were asking for was kind of high, even though it was within the budget that we had given Sagan. And so I checked with you and I checked with a friend that lives in Nicaragua. And both of you basically said the same exact thing, which is like, ooh, the amount that she's asking for, given her experience, is definitely too high. So you should.
To be clear, though, I would easily pay somebody in that country with the right background 5 times that. It
Oh,
was
absolutely.
just more this particular person for this rate in that country was above what
well above, yeah,
what my experience suggested.
Yep.
So the equivalent, to use a silly example, let's be specific. Uh, somebody from the Philippines with 4 years experience as an executive assistant with mildly accented English, asking for $2,300 a month. Now, I have many people from the Philippines who I pay more than that, but that role with that level of experience, that's about $1,000 too much. So I just
Yeah.
want to give like a specific example of, it's not that I don't pay people from the Philippines, it's freaking 10 grand a month or whatever, right? But it's just that role with that level of experience. It was just kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I passed on the candidate, and now I'm getting presented with new candidates from different countries with higher wages even than the high end of basically what this Nicaraguan candidate
Are they
had been
better than
asking
her?
for.
That's an important
Well,
question. Do you find them to be
to me, I think they're kind of similar.
okay?
They're kind of similar,
Okay.
and so I'm kind of thinking now, like, well, should I have actually just gone with that candidate, even though I would have been like quote overpaying for that country for that experience level?
Yeah.
Or is that a signal in and of itself if somebody was unrealistic with pay expectations that actually says a lot, and so I was smart to pass. I'm kinda, like, mixed up about this, like, should I just say, "Hey, I have $3,000 a month available. The first person who meets my requirements, doesn't matter the country, doesn't matter whatever, we make the hire," or we just say, "No,
Yeah.
we're not gonna pay more than 75% of the range, based
Yeah.
on the country and the conversion rate for the US dollar and all this other stuff."
Yeah. Uh, First thing is this is not the secretary problem because you're
No.
talking to people who have experience. You're
Right.
talking to me, you're talking to your friend. Our recruiter, Vicky, was putting this turning the screws on you because she's like, she's
She
a great
was.
candidate. Right. Did she do a good job? Vicky's
She did.
good.
Yeah, she did a good job. It was funny
Great.
because when I mentioned that to you, I kinda thought you might, like, smack her hand or something, and you're like, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that."
Well, because the thing is that I tell our team all the time is like sommeliers don't just say yes. They have taste, and
Yeah,
Vicky has taste, and I'm like, please share that with Peter. He might not agree with you, but please, like, you're here because you're good,
yeah,
and if you're not good,
and she might have been
the
right.
yeah,
Maybe I should have taken her
exactly.
advice.
So, but yeah, okay. So the first thing, the first thing I would say is it it ties into a bigger concept that I've wrestled with, which is I absolutely hate, even though my team has prevented me from doing this, the idea of a budget for a role. I hate it. I don't think we should ask people who do not have as much experience as us what their what's my budget? $5 a month, but I'm open to other offers. How much do you want for RL property? Property management. $100 million, but I'm open to other offers. I'd be willing to take a look. What, what's my budget? $1. What's their desired compensation? $1 million a month. Let's see if we can make a deal. Like
Right.
that. Like I'm trying to pay you as little as possible, and you're trying to get as.
Yeah.
So saying what your budget is, I'm just kind of like, I just philosophically don't always love that. So that's part one.
So how should it work, though?
Well, it goes to part two. Part two is what I think it should work is talking about compensation as a piece of other trade-offs. I am willing to pay more to have more of my requirements met. I am willing to compromise. I want to pay less and have only a percentage of my requirements met, or I want to optimize for low cost with as many qualifications met as possible. Okay, because now it's in the context. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get somebody incredible for $1 a month. But push comes to shove in the trade-offs between salary, availability, other candidates.
It's a fascinating tangle that we have in small business of candidates and salary. And to me, it's very unclear if it's rational for me to pay more for a better candidate in such a like if you're running a call center with 100
Yeah. No, these people
CSRs.
are all stars. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're running a call center with 100 CSRs, like this becomes very simple. But
Yeah.
when you have a tiny little business with 3, 5, 6 employees and a candidate comes along who's a little better than you thought you needed and they're asking for a little bit more, should you take that? Or
Yeah.
should you say, no, like we really need to stay to the budget? Or to put it another
I've never done
way,
budgets. I never do budgets. Just like find me somebody good. Give me a spread.
yeah,
I don't have a budget. If I gave you somebody who's an absolute rock star, how quickly are you going to drop that budget?
Right.
You're gonna laugh your way to the job offer. Oh wow, this went over budget. It's just like
But
a
there's a
starting
limit to that
point.
too, though, right? Like, you wouldn't pay them $1,000,000. Like,
Well,
so
the other thing would be is, and I don't think Sega members do this nearly enough. Some of them do it, and it kind of throws our team off. But I'm like, I think we need to facilitate this more. Is I think that there are certain people who I would make certain offers at certain prices. So they were listed desired salaries 3 grand. I'm like, to me, you're not worth 3 grand a month. So I'm going to make you an offer at 2,500 a month.
that's
But if
what
you
I
say
did. That's
like,
exactly what
and
I
if you
did.
say no, no problem.
It's exactly what I did, and it
Yeah,
did
well,
not
then
work.
you mispriced your. If you're regretting it, then you mispriced your offer. But I think all the time it should be a give. I've done that all the time. I'm like, yeah, I can't pay you this much, but I give you a job at this rate. It's like done,
Yeah.
or vice versa. Or do I have another option, or is this my only option, or could I get more
Mhm.
people out of So I think for me, um, I think salary's silly until you're looking at specific people. What's your budget for a house? It's like no more than X, but other than that,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm open to your suggestions, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably go back and hire her. I'm sure she's still available.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple other interviews lined
Okay.
up, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I,
not
I
off the
just think
table.
I just think all of this stuff to me only works in the context of trade-offs. So when people say things like, well, I want the owner to answer the phone, it's like, awesome, then prepare to not have your phone calls returned quickly. It's a trade-off. I want to buy products made in the US. Okay, you're gonna pay 50% more.
Mhm.
But just saying, I want products, I want my whole office in Southern California with motivated people who have a smile on their face. It's like, awesome. Sagan membership is now $40,000 a month.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's the only. So it's like when you talk about a candidate or what you're looking for, if it's not done in the context of trade-offs, I basically ignore it. I'm
Well,
really looking for somebody. It's like, what are you willing to trade off?
all of life is optimizing around trade-offs. It's figuring out what are the things that don't matter to you that matter to other people and vice versa, and kind of
Correct.
exploiting that. I mean,
Correct.
whether you're buying a house, starting a company, pricing a product or service to a customer, hiring an employee, picking an office location, it's all like what you ideally want to look for is like try to find things that other like if you're searching for a house.
Dude, did you read that tweet? I was about to mention that.
What?
Somebody wrote, when I'm looking for a house, the first thing I do is write down things that I'm okay with that other buyers like me aren't.
Didn't read that tweet, but that's exactly what I was about
That's
to
what you were
say.
about to say, right?
Yeah. Like, find stuff that you don't care about at all, right? And ideally, um, this gives you this lets you get into interesting properties at weirdly good prices.
Same with
So, like, I'll
businesses, by
give
the
you a
way.
specific example.
Same with businesses.
Yeah.
You can swap
So,
real estate for businesses. Yeah.
for example, let's pretend you don't care at all about train noise. In fact, you love trains. You're a train spotter or whatever. Right? Well, that's great news because most people there's a discount for homes
Yeah.
that are right up against railroad tracks. But if that doesn't matter to you, then you're gonna get the equivalent of $1,000,000 house for $500,000. But to you, it's just as good as the $1,000,000 house. So, and like all of life is this, right?
Oh, let's do
Whether
another
you're
one.
finding a wife or whether you're hiring for a role or whether you're starting a company or like putting a product out to market, like ideally when you're putting together like a product offering like for property management, you want to find the things. So even like pricing strategy. So I'll give you a really specific example from
Oh,
our
I love talking
company.
about pricing. This is
Yeah.
that's like telling you about Lead Simple. I love pricing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and I think this is fairly unique to us. Um, one thing that owners care about is approving maintenance expenses. So, in an ideal world, the owner wants to hear about every maintenance expense ahead of time and manually approve it, right? Well, that's not scalable for a property management company, or we'd be on the phone with owners 24/7. We wouldn't be able to dispatch maintenance, and everything would get clogged up. So, what we offer is three pricing points. And the lower the maintenance approval threshold, the higher the monthly fee for our management
Incredible.
services.
Incredible.
Yeah, so for owners who are like, "You know what? I need to know every dollar that's spent at the property." We're like, "That's absolutely great. It's $200 a month, and the maintenance approval limit is $250, which is effectively 0 because you almost can't even send anybody for less than that." And for
It's
owners who are
incredible.
like, you know what, I've been with you guys 3 years. You could rebuild the whole house after a fire. I don't even care. Just tell me when you're done. I don't even want to hear about it. You're like, great. Your maintenance approval limit is
Oh,
$5,000, and I can save you 25% on the monthly management fee because I can just operate and I don't have to keep you in the loop. I don't have to get your approval. So that's exactly like these levers that you're pulling and figuring out what matters to them that doesn't matter to me and what are they willing to pay. And so I love that stuff.
now, I first of all, I didn't realize that we shared this. Dynamic pricing and all that, I love because, I'm like, I love that kind of stuff. When Sagan was originally created, what I wanted to do, and I still want to freaking do this, but Kayvon won't let me. What I wanted to do was say, uh, Sagan is $400 a month, and then I will do as many hiring requests as you want, and I charge you my recruiter's time, who's $15 an hour plus 10%. So if you hire the first candidate presented, you just got to hire for $50.
This is
And if you
more
want to look at
Costco aligned.
candidates for 2 years, sure, here's a recruiter, go look at 10,000 and it's just $19 an hour. You look at how you want to send more comments, great. You want to reject, instead of now I essentially have to eat out that cost, but I'm like, I could cut membership in half if I said, Peter, how much recruiter time are you booking for this job?
Yeah. I
And it's a
like
little
that
complicated
because
to administer, but
I do like there's an appeal for me there, which is it aligns the incentives a little bit better because right now Sega is incentivized to kind of pressure your customers to accept candidates
because
so
we
that you
eat
can
the
stop the
overage,
search.
because
Yeah,
we eat the overage.
right. So if the average customer of Sagan looks at 5 candidates before they make an offer, once you get to candidate 7 or 8, your team's kind of like, come on, like we just
We
accept
are.
one because you're eating money at that point.
Well,
Whereas if it was the other
it's not
model,
that. Yeah, it's not exactly that we're eating money. It's more that it's not that we're eating money. It's that we're basically just fucking around. Like there's no way you should not need to look at 8. I mean, that's what I'd say.
yeah, you get what I'm
I mean,
saying
I've
though.
even thought about things like if you hire one of the first 3 candidates presented, we don't charge you a credit.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Because it's like,
Yeah,
look, I don't have to have a bunch of meetings. Dude, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to hire for you.
yeah,
So you hire one of the first 3 presented, it's no credit. You
that's
want more?
cool.
I charge you.
Yeah, I'm into that.
So it's like I'm always thinking about shit. Like I'm like, oh, it's cost plus. Oh, it's cost plus hours. Oh, it's a minimum. Like all that stuff I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
So it's aligned
yep,
because now it's cost based. And I'm like, I physically can't lose money on a hiring request. I can't.
right.
It's cost plus fee. So um anything else on dynamic pricing? Oh, we were talking about the craziness of comparative salaries. I think you have to say to yourself, what is this person worth to me? And then make an offer at that number. And whether that's above or below their budget or what they're asking, that to me is how urgent is the hiring request? What other options do you have? How frustrated it's so subjective, and you price that into your offer.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
yeah, yeah. It's all good. Surge pricing, like with Uber and stuff, to get more drivers on the road. People get really mad about surge pricing or variable pricing. You see this come up from time to time every year or two. It makes the cycle, like the news, it makes the rounds through the news is like such and such company is experimenting with surge pricing, and you're like, what? People get so mad. Um, but in fact, it's been around a lot longer than people think. All you got to do is look at happy hour surge pricing. It's the bar's slow. They have to be open between lunch and dinner.
Well, it's the inverse of surge
Well,
pricing.
yeah, essentially
It's same. It's dynamic pricing, not surge
dynamic
pricing.
pricing.
Dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or look at what an Airbnb costs on a holiday weekend versus it's just the
Yeah.
market. It's more perfectly matching supply and demand. I mean,
But
that's
there's certain categories of products and services where it's perceived as very distasteful by the average person, which it's interesting to think about why that is, right? Like why is it that people totally accept it with Uber and happy hours and Airbnbs, but if your grocery store had like
yeah,
surge pricing on bananas, you'd be
they
like,
should.
get the hell out of here. They're just trying to rip me off.
Or water after a hurricane.
Well, yeah, let's not go there.
Why?
It's very I feel like that's like the most extreme,
But
most politicized version of this.
you and I have different politics.
Not
but
really. I
I,
think our politics are
I'm a libertarian. You're like a Democrat, I think, or you're like moderate. You're
moderate.
somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just know you left Twitter because Trump got elected. That's all I know. So I was, you know, uh, but what I was going to say was just from my position, the raising of the price allows new supply to enter the market. What happens when you cap a price is that you have
Well,
shortages.
obviously, but
Yeah.
the specifics of an emergency situation is like, okay, so generators are now 5 times the price.
Yeah.
Is the store really gonna get more generators though? Like,
Yeah.
are they really gonna get more generators
If I'm
before the
2 states,
emergency's over?
if I'm
Or are they
two
just gonna make
states,
a bunch more money on the existing
no,
inventory they had?
if I'm 2 states over and I see that I can sell a generator for $1,000, which usually goes for 200, I'm getting my ass in a U-Haul and driving 50
Does that
generators from
happen
my
though?
local. Yeah. When you see surge pricing in Uber, you see basically supply flood into the market because they're like, I'm getting
Sure.
$100 a ride.
Yeah, but that's like a much more fluid, dynamic, expected, predictable type of a thing.
I'm a pretty much a free market absolutist. Not exactly absolutist, but like pretty a couple clicks off that. And so that's a whole nother topic. But
Yeah.
so my sense, my belief, my recommendation for people is to not do it based on cost. Like that's expensive for a VA. Just say like, what is it worth to you, and make an offer based on that.
Yeah.
That's and if you're an employee, I mean, I've told candidates to do this. They don't listen to me. I'm like, you should be flexible or inflexible based on the opportunity. You're going to go be an outbound cold caller for an asshole. Well, I'd probably charge more. You're going to go be in an environment where you can learn and develop and get exposure to an industry you really want to get into. Charge less.
Yeah, so that brings up something interesting. I mentioned this to you right after this whole thing went down. Is I made a mistake here, and maybe I made a mistake in passing on this candidate, but I made another mistake, which is I didn't sell her on the opportunity because I forgot that she has no clue who I am because I'm used to
Yeah.
people knowing who I am at this point,
Yeah.
especially people
You're
I'm
kind of a big deal.
interviewing. So I didn't explain like all about RL and
Yep.
Crane and the newsletter and the podcast, and I'm speaking
That
at
was probably your biggest
conferences and
mistake.
yeah.
Honestly, that was probably your biggest mistake.
So to her, I'm just, the cold caller from your example, the outbound
Yeah.
guy. Like, I should have taken more time to show her, like, and here's the growth of Crane. In 2
Yep.
years, we went from 0 to over 1,000,000 ARR, right? Do you wanna be a part of that? Or
Yeah.
there's
You know,
going to be more opportunities here. Look at the growth rate.
who
Or
you should have, who you should have reach out to her, right?
who?
Danny.
Yeah,
Have Danny reach out to her.
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Have Danny reach out to her this afternoon and say, "Hey, I know you're interviewing with Peter. He told me he feels really bad because he didn't tell you what we're up to. I just want to tell you what we're doing and what your role is going to be, and at least reopen the conversation because we'd hate to lose you."
Yeah.
And have Danny do it because Danny is like a fellow like person who's seen this can literally like I when I'm trying to get somebody really good, I haven't talked to our team. I'm like, talk
Yeah.
to our team. They talk to me for 10 minutes and I'm like,
And,
talk to
like, even
Anya.
even RL. So RL's, like, 35 people now. We've
Yeah,
got 7 people on our leadership team. 2 of them started as admin assistants at, like,
correct.
$13 an hour.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
like,
And
that's
not
that's what
Peter.
happens when people stick around with me.
Correct. And not Peter, the boss, who they're used to getting smoke blown up their butt, be like, hey, I do this all the time in interviews. I'm like, Anya, this is Carrie. She's interviewing for an account executive position. Please tell her the good, the bad, and the ugly of working at Sagan.
Yeah,
And then I leave the Zoom.
I like that.
And it works really well because they're like, if you don't like that, because I want them to hear what it's really like. I don't want
You
to be
do.
like, it's always
Totally.
great. Right. I want to be like,
Yeah.
John moves really fast and gives you a lot of responsibility. He's going to, but I'm like, just tell him that.
I do that, so when we're hiring at RL, especially for leadership team positions, I'm super clear on, like, the downsides. I'm like, "Listen,
Yeah.
I need to tell you some of the bad stuff about working here and this industry, right? There's a lot of negativity. I have high expectations. You're not going to get a lot of feedback from me.
You're
It's
not going to get an
very,
email from me before noon.
you're not going to get an email response from me before noon. It's very, we've gotten feedback from people before that it's so results oriented and so unstructured that they feel adrift and
Hmm.
they sort of don't know what to do. There's no schedule. I don't care when they come or go. And I give them that feedback. I'm like, hey, just so you know, you need to be very self organized and self motivated because I'm not going to be checking in with you every hour. So I go through all kind of like these negatives
I
of,
love it.
and yeah.
I love it. Final thoughts.
Mm. don't think I have anything else to say about hiring right now.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. I think it's a really important topic. It represents both of our phases, and so um,
I'm still big on predictive index. Like I lean heavily
for
on that.
senior, yeah, yep. Um, okay. Quotes, ideas, tech tools. I'll give one. Granola, which is my favorite kind of meeting recorder of choice, does like a year in review, like Spotify does. And it gave me some really funny stuff about like who you meet with the most, and it looks at all your transcripts. But um, some of our team send me theirs because I'm in some of theirs, and so one of them, so far head of recruitment, it said you're best at turning bullying into leverage. You handle executive teasing by threatening to post hostage videos to Twitter, proving you're being held against your will. Because I always make fun of Soph, and that came up in her year in review
Nice.
because I always give her a hard time. So if
That's
you use
awesome.
Granola, get the year in review thing. It's clever.
Yeah. I'll talk about right now I'm on the hunt for a software to help keep track of credit card receipts, which sounds really stupid and boring, but when you have like 35 employees, it starts to become really important. We use Chase credit cards because they have great points. And here's the cool thing about points. I know a lot of people like crap on using credit card points. Points are a tax-free way to get money out of your business, just so you know, if you didn't know that. There's no tax on credit card points, and we're talking thousands of dollars that you can generate in credit card points every month and then
Smart.
move it to a personal credit card by transferring the points and then spend them on your family vacation. So call me stupid for paying attention to that. That's fine. The problem is all of like the Chase credit card ecosystem, which is what we're in. I'm looking for a great way to track those credit card receipts the way that like Relay does. If you've used Relay or Ramp, it's super clean and easy. Every time an employee or you swipe a credit card, you get a little notification or an email from Ramp or Relay, and they're like, "Hey, I need the receipt for that." And so you forward it to an email address, or you can even snap a picture, or you can text it. They make it
You could
super
build
easy.
it.
Yeah, maybe you could build it, but it's just payment rails, man. I don't want to get involved in that.
Oh.
So
Does
I've been looking for
Chase
a
have an API?
solution. What?
Is there other API? Oh, whatever. That's a whole
I have
different
no
topic.
idea.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I messed around with Expensify. That's not the right solution. And I have a meeting on Monday with a company called File, Fyle, which I think might be the
Cool.
right solution here. But yeah, it's just kind of something silly that I'm working on right now
Cool.
because,
If you have any suggestions,
yeah,
hit up Peter on LinkedIn or his website
Facebook.
or something. I don't know. Facebook. Cool. All right. Good stuff, Peter. I'm gonna hit pause.
All right.